Okay, so not so much my face in this video. I'm going to focus a little bit more on the actual stitch. Previous video I had shown you sawn-in cords, but you were looking at it from the other direction. So this time we're going to work kind of from my perspective. So as you can see, I've already sawn the book block, and this one is mostly sewed. And I'm just gonna make sure that's in there real good. All right, so the idea here, I just bumped the camera, I hope you still can see. You probably weren't able to see that. All right, good thing this is a little informal. So as we're sewing the sections together, you want to go out, and then you're going to go in the other side around the cord itself. I'm going to move the beater out of the way. So you see here, I'm going to go out. Now the important thing is you don't want to pull this way, because if you pull this way, you're going to end up tearing the page right there. So you want to make sure you're pulling along the direction that you're going in. There we go. So that sat in there. This way you're not cutting the page off. So that nested that in there very nicely. Now I'm going to go in the other side. So it captures that cord. And I'm going to come out. Of course, I'm being watched, so really? There we go. So we're going to repeat this a few times. I'm not sure if you can see, my dog is pacing in the background, chasing his tail. Mr. Frank Sinatra is providing some background music for us. You just want to take your time with this. You want to make sure that the cords don't tangle. All right. There we go. Now we're going to do what's known as a kettle stitch. So you go down to the previous selection, you loop in to the last row, and now I'm going to come back up through to create the knot. Snug that up a little bit. Alright, so now we're going to go back. So this particular book that I'm sewing is part of my Atlas series, and I'll explain a little bit about that, but essentially they're very targeted journals for artists and musicians, basically creative people. In this case, this is for an antique dealer. but they're basically very structured journals and notebooks where not only can the artist or the musician create, draw, write their music or whatever, but it gives them a lot of other tools. There's a section in here for documenting inspirations. There's a section for recording particular, now this is the antique dealer, so it's for recording brands and that, but if you had artists, musicians, or painters, photographers that you admired, you could record them there. It has an entire section devoted to showing you mind mapping and allowing you to create mind maps. It has an area for doing your design, illustration, writing your music, depending on which atlas you have, and much, much more. So they're very well geared towards the creative type who needs help with their structure. All right, here we go. Last stitch. All right, I'm going to follow that up with the final kettle stitch. Now remember, when you're putting in the final kettle stitch, you want to do a double knot. Make sure it stays in there real well. All right, I'm going to snug that up. You don't want it too tight, because if it's too tight, it won't round correctly. And another video a little bit later on will deal with the rounding of this. There we go. All right. I'll probably clip that off. And that is stitching.